First we'll look at an open E major chord position. You want to hold the first fret of the G, the second fret of the D, and the second fret of the A string here. I'm using the index finger on G, ring finger on D, and middle finger on the A string. But you could use your middle finger on G, pinky on D, ring on A. It's good to learn both ways. And when you got that chord shape, start from the low E string down. You can hear all the strings ring out, then you give it a strum. Now an E major chord is made up of the notes E, your low E string, B, second fret of the A string, that's the perfect fifth, another E at the second fret of the D string here, that's an octave E. Now at the first fret of G here we have a G sharp, that's the major third relative to E. Then we have a B string, an open B, and an open E. Now if we go to the fifth fret of the B string here, that's an E note right there, and there's another E chord shape right here. If we hold the fourth fret of E, the fifth fret of B, and the fourth fret of G, that's another E chord shape there. I'm just including a low E string on top of that. So this chord shape, it extends up to the A string. It's fourth fret of E, fifth fret of B, fourth fret of G, sixth fret of D, seventh fret of A. The seventh fret of A here is another E note. And there's another chord starting here at the seventh fret of the A string here. So another E chord. So we have an E note here. And we're going to hold the ninth frets of D, G, and B. And we're using just the ring finger for that. The easiest way to hold this E major chord is using the ring finger on the ninth frets of the D, G, and B strings there. And there's another note in this chord, the seventh fret of the B string here. It's a B note right there. And we can play an E chord shape just using the G, B, and E strings here. So hold the ninth fret of G, ninth fret of B, seventh fret of E. There's a little E major chord right there. And now if we go up to the 12th fret here on the E and B strings and the 13th fret of G, we have another E major chord shape. At the 12th fret position here we can play an E major octave chord. If you hold down the 13th fret of G, the 14th fret of D, and the 14th fret of A. Start with a low E string. So there we have an open low E string, and an open B string, and an open high E string. Now we can also turn this into an E major bar chord if we put the index finger flat on the 12th frets here to hold down the open E and B strings. That gives us an E major bar chord. If we take that index finger off, we can still play this chord here because those open strings are part of E major.